Hi, Gary. I know you probably thought you saw the last of me. Too bad I don't follow normal rules, huh? Kind of like you. If someone told you not to do something, but it was attached to your purpose and your goals, would you stop? If they threw a couple of roadblocks in place? I already know the answer to that. And part of the laughable that I was gonna tell you face to face, but I will save all those secrets for when we do talk face to face. But I know that I meant to share some pieces with you to help you now. Because no matter what, my job is to help you, even protect you from yourself sometimes. I had someone who helped me protect me from myself, and I'm very grateful for him. The Egyptian that saved my life about 8 years ago when I started getting shoved onto this journey. And I was a huge pain in his ass. Yep. And against anything that I threw at him, lots of roadblocks, being a pain in his ass, he still showed up because he believed in his purpose. And if anything, that taught me a lot. Not like I give up anyways, but because I mean, think about it, Gary. If somebody threw a roadblock in front of you, but it was attached to your goals and your purpose and what you were striving for, what would you do? Would you give up? Or would you just keep going? Because part of the laughable universe piece is that I got to see that we're kind of like twins on opposite ends of the extreme. And it makes me kind of laugh. In a good way. Because I can see now where my lessons and journey that I went through is like a mirror, the extreme on the opposite end for both sides. So I'm going to tell you a few things and share a few things because guess what? I know that anything that intrigues your mind, even if I drive you bonkers, this will still get to you. You still have Chad sending my videos to you if they come through. Yep. So I know I intrigue your brain because no, I'm not normal. But are you normal, Gary? Nope. You knew you weren't normal when you were a kid. Our brains, when we were a kid, showed us very clearly that we were not like everybody else. We learned really quickly on not sharing a lot of the stuff in our head, picking our battles on what we were willing to share and fight for, and keeping the other pieces in our head because most of the time, people thought we were crazy anyways, for the ones we even did pick to bring to the surface. So, you probably learned at a young age that you're not normal, that most people can't handle your brain. So then we have a very small group that we ever allow close to us to actually see us because we learn to protect ourselves because when people don't know how to handle our brain, somehow, shape, or form, they usually end up disappointing us. They usually end up hurting us and all of that in their own self-sabotage way. So we learned really fast that most people don't know how to show up for us. Most people can't be trusted. Most people don't deserve our emotions, time, and attention. And one thing I had to learn too was we suck. Well, okay. I did suck. I'm way better now. You might still be on this journey of sucking at sharing emotions and putting emotions actually back into business because that was part of my big, huge lesson. And now I can see where I lost everything and had to go through all that and everything. It literally is the mirror of what I can see you going through now and what I can see coming up. And I can see exactly why I had to go through it all, collect the map because they've had me document all of it to be able to know the pieces and the journey of this, like, I guess more or less spiritual awakening, I guess, where we were really good at just business and keeping emotions separate, making choices based on business. That is what now doesn't necessarily work anymore. And it sucks because I was used to just being able to go 100 miles an hour, run laps around people. Sound familiar? You know, because most people can't handle our goals and dreams, how fast we jump through normal hoops that would take people a long time to do. We're able to kind of like skyrocket through them. We're able to do things most people can't. And a lot of people don't like that. So we were really used to having enemies. Not necessarily enemies, envious, jealous people. And before, it never really bothered me. In the last 6 months to a year, it's like you can feel it coming off of people. You can see people differently. And one of the things I had to learn was as much as we want to fight the emotion part, it starts pulling us apart, pulling our relationships apart, having pretty much our world crumble down around us. And no matter how hard we used to be able to fly through things, no matter how good we used to be at like going 100 miles an hour, the world doesn't work that way anymore. And I didn't realize that. And it has been a constant learning curve for me because I just want to go 100 miles an hour and go towards the goal. But that's not the way the world works anymore. And that's part of the whole spiritual awakening thing, because I didn't believe in any of that crap to begin with. So I didn't know what a spiritual awakening was. I didn't know what esoterics were. I didn't know. I had to learn and research and dig into all of that because I didn't know what they were having me jump into when I was surrendering in the beginning and just hitting a brick wall. But it's kind of laughable. Well, no, it is laughable. But I can see now why I ended up at KW in the first place. We were meant to be crazy, not normal, scare most people, intimidate most people, but also inspire them to kind of start a fire under people to even like jump for their dreams a little bit more than they were before. But what has shifted in the world, I guess, is where we used to be able to ignore certain things. We don't get to ignore it anymore. Things that, okay, so let me back up. Right now, I know my video I did for you on Friday, a big piece and part of all of that is, like I said, my job is to protect you even from yourself. Even if you're hiding from me, I'll find you to do my job because we only know how to do 110%. We only know how to master what we are focused on and going for as goal. We can master whatever we want, whatever we focus on. We can be a master at it. I never thought that I would have to master this, but I'm grateful, very grateful that I did because we sucked at emotions. And I feel like right now you're still struggling with that because it kind of goes against everything that you have set your world up around. But really, does it, Gary? Because go back to when you were like 30, 32. Remember when you were starting KW? Weren't you starting KW because of your heart, because of your emotions, because you believed in an impossible goal for people that you loved and cared about, for all of that to give them a life worth living and, you know, opportunities that weren't usually there. I know that you started everything with your heart, but then we get into business mode and we start making choices based on business. And sometimes that's good. But what happens when we don't necessarily love something and we haven't dealt with our emotions, we come up with new goals and dreams that inspire us and light up our world. And we start running because we're like a freight train. You're like a freight train, which means we start going straight towards our new goals and almost like burned down, not on purpose, but when we're focused on the new, the last thing we want is to go backwards and have to deal with any of the crap that is behind us. And I know that you are not the same person you were 2 years ago. I know that because if I believe what I believe, and you're kind of like my twin in a way, extremes on both ends, then you have been changing drastically. Your health probably has been affected a lot. Mine, I had to learn from rashes to I've watched people have heart attacks. I've watched people get cancer in their throat because they didn't know how to speak their emotions. All of that energy, because if you understand like quantum physics, quantum entanglement, all of that I had to like learn, that it's our body is becoming a filtration system, and wherever we are not processing, then we hold it there and it can become toxic. But when my world started falling down and I was ignoring everything, it was because I was running towards the goal, throwing my head into work. Because when we have a new goal and something that inspires us and all of that, we can stay up on, like we have unlimited energy. Unlimited, usually. Right now, not as much, because it feels like we keep getting pulled back to the old, and it drives us crazy because none of the things that we used to be able to do to get away from our emotions work as well now. And the world just keeps like throwing it back in your face. So don't be mad at Chad for that getting to me. Like I said, the web will always find me, always. And you need to know that you running towards your new goals to try and make yourself happy, I get that. But you started KW because of your heart. Because you wanted to create a place that was different. And it is. It's an amazing place. It saved my life. It helped me reach my goals. Because when I came to KW, I had ran a construction company for 10 years before that. And I've always worked in a man's world. So I've always, and you probably do the same thing, we kind of put categories around people. Like we can walk into a room and instantly, read the room and gauge and judge. But that also means when we're judging and doing that, I had to realize that that meant we were judging ourselves, because it's a mirror. So whatever we're judging someone else for means we judge ourselves for. And over this last year and a half, the biggest thing that I've had to do is deconstruct any facade or structure, or what I was taught was the good way and that's bad way, or, you know, happy wife, happy life kind of facade, picket fence, having that facade for everybody else to see. I had to deconstruct that. And I didn't realize how hard that would be, because just like, you know, jumping into spiritual journey, awakening, all of that, let me tell you how much I missed real estate. I would love to be back in my negotiations, contracts, all of that, teaching, training agents, all of that stuff. That was happy. That I knew how to do. I knew how to feel great at it. I knew how to master that. It was terrifying to jump into a new journey that I still don't know where they're taking me or prepping me for. I just do what I'm told. And it was terrifying because it goes against everything that I was taught was okay. I had to learn, because we're extreme. So if we're extreme in business, that also means we're extreme in personal, in our rebel side, in our wild side, or whether it's not even wild. It is the extreme of it, the mirror and the extreme of it. So I had to see that. I had to learn that it didn't need to be like a hidden secret rebel side, to almost like pick where we had to hide those pieces. And I know that you have extreme side. That is also probably what you are also trying to run from, because you're different now. I know that that was part of it for me as well. But we don't get to run. We don't get to run from it. Literally, the universe is trying to merge our authenticity, what makes us happy, whether it's our secret, our rebel, our wild, our extremes, our work. It is balance, period. And I feel like you're at the point where the color kind of has left your world. It's more of a monotony. I mean, we love our routines and all. We're kind of a little OCD. Things always have a place, all of that kind of stuff, because we can control that. Because let's be honest, Carrie, we don't love anything that surprises us. We don't love anything when it comes to necessarily finding out we were wrong, all the things, because we're a pain in the ass, really. We're stubborn, really stubborn. And our brain has always been our best friend. Our brain, our knowing, because no one was ever really there for it anyways, gets kind of lonely. Because no one, all we ever want is like someone that actually can like show up, you know, and match. But we learn really early on that that's almost like an impossible dream, I guess. At least I had to, and that was a hard one, because that meant my high expectations that I had for myself, which you probably do as well, we put them on other people, not even knowing. And the best thing that Lee Stern actually ever taught me was not everybody can carry the same cart. If we can carry a cart that is, you know, 8 carts full, and that's our norm, that's what we base everything else off of. But that person or that person might only be able to carry 1 cart or 2, and that is their norm. So having our expectations just ingrained in us at the expectation that we hold on ourselves, it instantaneously almost beats someone else up without even knowing it. And I had to realize that with my brain, your brain, we always knew we intimidated people, and we always knew they couldn't show up and meet our expectations. But that also means that we kind of put ourselves on a pedestal, not knowing necessarily that we were always looking down on them, and instantaneously they shrink. They shrink. And then we keep other people, or at least before, I would keep other people around because they helped make me feel more normal in my extremes. That didn't mean they were healthy for me. So in saying that, the mirror for you is the guys that are probably coming up to be a huge pain in your ass right now, and that will keep coming out of the woodworks. Before, their extremes probably made you feel more normal, more free. Because it's rare for us to find that. And I had to admit, which was a hard one, that we kind of not use people, but we put people in our life or help them, shove them up to their goals, dreams, you know, because our love language is probably overgiving with like material gifts, or pushing them up to their dreams and giving them a life that they never thought that they could have. But they're always a piece to a puzzle. We keep people and put people in places because they were a piece to a puzzle to reach our goals. So the men that you were helping, they were a piece to your puzzle, and you gave them a life they couldn't have even imagined, and you probably feel betrayed and don't know who to trust and all of that. And we kind of recluse and run and find a new project and almost let other ones burn down around us. Yep. But that also means women before, not now, but before, you probably didn't see them at the same level of being of value to your piece of your puzzle. They didn't make you and your extremes feel as comfortable, the women. And with you being older, you were probably taught a little bit differently than me, because I'm grateful that I did not get born in earlier, because I've always been outspoken and spoke my mind. Even when I would go to church at like 13, I got told to stop going to church because I would come in with the evidence of all the stuff in the church that they weren't teaching. And if you're going to teach me something, you better teach me all of it so I can know the pros, the cons, and I can make my own choice. So I even used my truth and my voice to learn how to not go to church when I was younger, because that's what I do, apparently. So I've been a huge pain in people's asses for a long time, apparently. But I don't think you ever realized, just like I didn't realize, I've always worked in a man's world. I didn't realize that I've always used them as a puzzle piece, that I didn't necessarily see their value, I guess. I see their value now because I had to, like, you know, learn and grow the hard way. But I didn't realize that I would put them in a category. Like, I even have a name because I worked on job sites, worked with builders, worked with landowners. Ornery old men have always been my specialty, and I did not know why. And it's because I can read them. And they don't have to speak. They don't have to speak to me to tell me what they need and what they want. And I can be their best friend because they didn't have to speak it. And I could just give them what they needed. I call guys in my world, whether it's friends, work, whatever, husbands, because they might as well be a gay husband because they don't have a chance in hell. I had to learn how to demand the respect that I needed and deserved in work world and personal, because I don't care if you like me, but you damn well better respect me. And if you're going to look at me like a piece of meat, I will make you humiliated, because on job sites, the guys used to find it hilarious anytime somebody would hit on me that was new, because I would make them an example of how they don't have a chance in hell. So we might be a little stubborn. Yep. That took me a minute to admit all of that, because we usually know things that other people don't. But when it comes to us actually learning, growing, and being called out on our crap, that's where we suck. That's where we suck. So right now, I know you're running towards new goals, but that is allowing KW to burn up behind you, and that's not what you want, and I know that. And the problems will just keep coming up, because the women right now, that's part of the shift, is they're just gonna keep rising up. They will, because now what we didn't used to see, so narcissistic men or women, we didn't used to see them. And as an empath, I had to learn, which you're an empath too, we are literally a magnet for narcissists, which means now, if you're waking up like I'm assuming you are surrounded by narcissists. And I had to see the same thing. Like 80% of my husbands are freaking narcissists. And it blew my marbles. But at the same time, that's because I had to realize we're empathic, and it's not something I did. It's who I am. And I magnetize and I'm attract in, well, I did, narcissists. And so as I was waking up, it was almost like I had to push them all away, because I realized, and I had to pay attention to my body and my energy and my sanity and all of it. It's like they were their food source. And all of a sudden, you'll feel drained and you don't know why. All of a sudden, where we used to have clarity, we're confused. Where we used to be driven and motivated, all of a sudden we're exhausted and don't have the motivation to do it. It's this shift that happened that was undeniable, that shifted every part of my world in all areas, from family, friends, work, clients. And so that means women in KW or anywhere, they're starting, because you are a light beacon, which means you attracted in a lot of empathic agents, a lot. And they can't deny that all of a sudden they're sick when they're at the office. They're drained, they're exhausted, all of the things. And that's why you're starting to have the women start rising up and start pointing out, because they see the narcissist blatantly in their world now. And it's hard to ignore. And no matter how they ignore it, they can't be in the same space as it. So they literally are getting given like an ultimatum almost, because if it doesn't get better, they have no choice, because it's their health and their sanity on the line. Which, Gary, I have a feeling that's the same place you're in right now. Because if you are surrounded by narcissists and you're trying to run towards your new goal and not want to deal with your old, and it's probably really pissing you off that it keeps pulling you backwards. Yep. The universe will just keep doing that, because we have mirrored lessons, by the way. So when I got the message, the email from Chad, I laughed because it was the lesson that I was going through with crap I had been ignoring, that I hadn't closed out and was running towards a new goal and didn't want to deal with. For it to come and pretty much find me and bitch slap me, for me to have to take care of it, deal with it, close it out. Because we don't get to run from our past mistakes. We get to know better and do better now, but we're never meant to burn down what we're leaving, what we did love, and run from it ever. Because would that really be okay with your heart, Gary? I don't think it would. I don't think at night when you're laying in bed that it would actually be okay with you. Because that was your foundation. That was your baby. It is. It is your catalyst for everything. And to watch it go down at all and not be the place that you created it to be would break your heart. And is breaking your heart. And that's part of the reason why the color has left. You're trying to change and be better. But that also means you gotta start merging some of your extremes, Gary. Deconstructing some of the facades. That was one of the things, hardest internal struggles that you'll go through. But there are pieces and parts that if you aren't allowing in your world to be seen, then you are attaching shame to it, which means now you start feeling the shame mirror and you bury it down further and further. We screw up, Gary, and we grow from it. We weren't taught to share our mistakes. We were taught to hide those. We were taught to not cry, to show emotions, and all of that was kind of weakness. And I learned that that's a big, big lie. We were all meant to be perfectly imperfect and own up on our crap to give other people inspiration to be perfectly imperfect as well. You're an inspiration, Gary. And sometimes when we screw up and we are inspirations, is the best teaching tool for other people to be okay to screw up and to not get lost in shame. And I've had to learn this whole surrender thing because, you know, we kind of like to control shit. Yep, maybe just a little bit. So I get to see now, knowing the laughable universe connection of extremes in our world, that even me sending you the very first video, knowing what I know about me and my, like, who I am to and what I cause people, when I say I'm an infection of some kind, I cause people to start waking up, to start going down their spiritual awakening, to start dealing with things that they hadn't dealt with before. So I can see now when I was upset, when your whole hierarchy got that first video, it was meant to happen that way, because that also means the people closest to you all got the first poke to start dealing with their crap. So in a way, it was protecting you without even knowing I was protecting you. It was starting to slowly awaken the people around you as you were awakening and growing, so that they had the potential and choice to do the same. So I can see now that that is not chopping people out necessarily. It's giving them the choices to grow and be better. Still debatable on the Green Brothers. That's a totally different story. But I know you need more joy in your life. Gary, we don't keep people close to us because, remember, they don't know how to show up. So really, emotionally, maybe 1 or 2 people have known who we really are, but really not, because we don't share all of us. Which also means if you are going through any kind of awakening like I did, where my mind and our brains are not normal anyways, and it starts expanding on a massive scale and starts pulling us in different directions than we had ever imagined before necessarily, pretty much like burning down our old to get us to do what we're supposed to do, our brain gets to be almost like the scariest place. Sometimes in some moments it's the safest, but as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and we don't know how to navigate it like we did before, it can become the scariest. And I had to learn all the tools. I had to learn all of the secrets. I had to learn even the recipes and antidotes to heal your body, your brain, like the process. Because from rashes to I watched people have throat cancer, heart attacks, we don't get to hold stuff down anymore. It will come out if we like it or not, period. It just depends on how you allow it, how much we ignore it, and how bad we let it get. And if you have been dealing with any of that stuff, no doctor knows what's happening. I swear every single doctor wants to write a freaking book because I'm always the anomaly. And I've learned that how to heal myself and heal others with non-conventional herbal, all sorts of crap, because chemicals and putting toxins back in us as our body is trying to clean out all of that doesn't necessarily work. Believe me, that was a whole surrendering process as well. But I know that your joy is not there. And if that light goes out, Gary, and that joy isn't there, and the same things don't bring you joy anymore, you're feeling more and more alone, more and more reclused almost, because there are not many of us out there. Nope. And especially when you're watching people that you did trust start showing you that you shouldn't have, then we start questioning our own intuition and who we trusted. We start questioning everybody's intentions, even the ones who haven't hurt us yet. And it sucks. It sucks. But one of the things that I got to realize when I was running, from emotions and my world was burning down, I didn't want to deal with my husband having a mental breakdown. I wanted to work. So we throw ourselves into work because we're really good at that. And then I broke my ankle, and all I could do was be laid up and analyze and look at admin crap and that kind of stuff. But I had one day an investor, an ornery old man that took me a while to actually even earn his trust, because, investors, ornery old men, especially that have been doing it for a long time, they've always wrote their own contracts. They always did their own crap. And I never believed in speaking words that I could do something. I always believed in proving myself. So I helped him win a bunch of contracts and everything just by tweaking some stuff after he had been doing it for 20 years and thought, he knew everything, and then had to swallow his pride because a woman taught him how to do something a little bit better and all of that, but then they become your bestie. Yeah. And that was all before even getting paid for any of it, because I believe in proving yourself. Because when we do something, we do it 110% and go for our goals. So I'm laid up with my ankle, and I get a call from him, and he says, I didn't want to bother you, but I knew you would want to know that I tried calling a bunch of the girls on the team and nobody returned my call, and I just needed them to write a contract for $13 million commercial property. In that moment, what I heard and what I had to learn, swallow, and process, also threw a temper tantrum and, you know, fired a bunch of people that day, because we do have that like volcano part when we, you know, hold stuff down and people disappoint us, was I had to learn that I was enabling women to be small because of their own self-worth ceiling wouldn't allow them to write a contract, spend an hour of their time and get paid over $300,000. They would rather go and show 50 homes. That it didn't matter how much opportunity I gave them. It didn't matter how much money was on the line. If their worth wasn't there internally, they would sabotage it. Not even knowing, and would have every excuse and reason in the world why they couldn't do it. But you and I both know that it's based on their own mindset and their own self-worth ceiling. And I can see the mirror of that. I enabled women what I thought was pushing them to their dreams and their potential, but I wasn't healing their emotional trauma. And when they aren't healing their emotional trauma, it's a void in them that won't allow them to accept anything above what they believe in themselves. The mirror of that is the men that you were pushing up to their dreams, giving them the lives that they couldn't even imagine, giving them the power that they had never had before. The difference is you ended up creating narcissists that were using their power in the wrong ways. And I can see the extreme of that on both ends. Because in a sense, enabling the women to stay small and not making them heal their emotional trauma and all of that, when they would self-sabotage themselves in something and beat themselves up, they actually end up becoming narcissists as well, just more in relationship world, because their worth and where they can control, they usually would go and use their power that they do feel they have, which was their bodies, their whatever, and seduce and manipulate and become narcissists that way and hurt people that way. And I didn't realize that. I didn't. And it was a hard pill to swallow, because I always thought I was, you know, pushing somebody to their dreams and their goals, even if they were a puzzle piece to what I needed them for. I didn't realize that I was, you know, they were just a piece to the puzzle. Well, when we know better, we do better, right? But one of the reasons the video that I made on Friday for you, I wasn't allowed to send, was because there is a part of that that I needed to warn you about. It's like you're not trusting men as much because they're the ones that are burning you right now. And so you're pulling more women in. But there's a particular woman in your space that for about the last 3 to 6 months, I haven't said anything, but she's toxic. She's toxic. I get greed and master manipulator off of her. Bad. But she's got a beautiful facade. Beautiful facade that most people wouldn't be able to ever see through. But this person has a massive void. And I see it almost like a black hole, where the gravity is just of that void in them, in her, is almost pulling all of the energy, all of the drive and dreams and clarity and all the stuff that usually flows freely in you and around you, she's like the succubus of it. So if you, and I have a feeling you know who this woman is to you, but this woman, she's draining you and she's toxic to you because you're empathic and you're trying to make something better and run to your new goals and projects. But whoever this person is, whether it's personal or in work, I don't know, but I know that she is causing you to be drained, exhausted. When she leaves your space, you're probably exhausted. You're confused when you used to have clarity. You feel, if it's anything like my experience, it almost takes your power away where we feel like we have power and control in many areas. It's like she sucks the power that you feel out of you. It's because she's a succubus for the power. Not knowing, like she's not purposely or knowing this, but at the same time, she knows she has a void. She knows she has an emotional hole that she's not dealing with and she's running from. But she doesn't realize that she is literally draining happy, healthy people. And she's like eating it like it's her food source. So whoever that person is, protect yourself, Gary. Because those are the kind of people that will drain your sanity, your health, your dreams, your goals, and pretty much anything that's happiness around you. The color. Because they kind of make us shrink, and we don't shrink easily. So that should tell you how big the void is in her. So be careful. You might not want to trust men as much right now because you're questioning your intuition, but you're a narcissist magnet. So the ones that are coming to you that are almost magnetized to you for some reason, and you have a weird pull to them usually, they're usually, it's like quantum entanglement, if you understand that. It doesn't even matter if they're in your space anymore. And if you see them every day, I had to actually learn and research that they don't even have to be in your world. If they were and they are attached to your energy, it's kind of like a cord, like an umbilical cord, that we're feeding them even without them even being in our space. Do you know how crazy that was for me? That I had to actually realize, because we help a lot of freaking people, we inspire people. Do you know, I had to realize, being an empath and with the shift in the alignment and everything that happened that I didn't even know was possible, that I was feeding succubuses, thousands of them, all over, without me knowing. And I just had to know that I was exhausted, drained, confused, like all clarity had gone, all of that. I had to realize and that I had literally like umbilical cords attached to all of it, all over the place, because I was willingly giving energy and that to people before and not protecting it like I should have. Not knowing that, because when we know better, we do better. That was a hard pill to swallow. So now I'm very selective of where I give my time and attention. But emotionally, I had to learn the hard way for the last 2 years and get the map and do all of that to be able to process and see people's voids, because women, they are really good at hiding it. The narcissistic women, the ones with the voids and the self-worth issues, I can totally see exactly why I had to learn all of that the hard way. Because they are the best at hiding it. They are the best at manipulating a situation with different intentions behind it. And it's always based on intentions. I had to learn that too. Doesn't matter how good they are at showing up. It doesn't matter how good they are at saying stuff to make it fit into the facade that we want. If their intentions aren't for the bigger goals and they are selfish intentions and they are lack driven, we are like their buffet. And that has been a lesson that has come back to like slap me in the face the last few months, which I now know why I had to redo my video for you, because I had to warn you. Because that was my lesson. Just like the past coming back the last couple weeks of me having to clear out stuff that I didn't even realize I was running from, for me to get the email from Chad to realize that, oh crap, you're going through the same thing, because we're really good at running like an arrow and going straight towards our new goals and get pissed at anything that gets in the way of that. And I used to try and leverage it, you know, throw money at it, all of that stuff. The universe won't accept that anymore. We get to take responsibility and accountability and actually owning up and like doing it, because it's an energy exchange. So it's literally, I had to figure out that it is literally proving to the universe based on energy given, is us learning it means that we are willing to put in the energy or time or whatever it is to be able to fix that, which then is reciprocal from the universe to be able to, they're like, thank you. So now we can give you the other pieces to the puzzle that you want and that do match your goals, but thank you for caring enough to learn it and also help heal it wherever that is and fix it. That one took me like a year or so, just that one, to have it like slap me in the face over and over and over again, because we're stubborn, remember? So that means I tried to do the old way a lot. I don't get to go 100 miles an hour and straight towards goals anymore. It's almost like this zigzag effect and learning how to flow and like divine timing and trusting, just like me sending the video to have it go through your hierarchy to now know that was protecting you and giving people now an opportunity to actually grow into filling their void. Because if I trigger and like, it's kind of like a explosion. Let's be honest. They didn't tell you that, you know, what's that quote? There's this poem that I heard one day and it made me laugh that, oh, they didn't tell him she was fragile. They told him she was fragile. They just didn't say she was fragile like a bomb. I didn't realize that me learning everything that I've had to learn and all of the pieces to the puzzles was because I am meant to be fragile like a bomb, but it all depends on people's intentions and actions behind it. I know with you were meant to see all of my extremes. I know that now. From me being loving and caring to being willing to take it down and not care that you're the owner of the company and I will go straight to you. We don't follow the normal rules. I do what I do because I do it with 100%, 110%, because that's me showing up for me. I do it for myself, and I do it because when we have a goal and we are the arrow, we don't let anything get in the way. We part the damn seas. And nobody should get in front of it when we do. Because that is part of our intimidation, is our determination intimidates any competition out of the way most of the time. Doesn't work as well right now, because we're supposed to be using words. But I know with you, you probably, like I did, we didn't necessarily love emotions, which means surface conversations and us only wanting to know surface things about people as well, which means it was protecting us in a way, because then they shouldn't ask us anything emotional or deep, because we don't allow people into that space. But Gary, you're meant to. I just don't think you have met anybody that has matched your, crazy brain to understand, to actually believe that there was someone out there that could understand your brain. And I don't know necessarily all the pieces of why I've been put into your world, and will, find you if you like it or not, because I will help save yourself, save you from yourself, if you like it or not. I don't know all of that, but I do know that as soon as I had that realization, it made a lot more sense. A lot more sense. I've been dealing with the women's side of it all, and you've been dealing with the man side of it all. For me to realize that I had a lot of man narcissists around me that I did not realize, for you to also realize that you have a lot of women narcissists around you as well. And we put them all there because they were a piece to our puzzle. We didn't necessarily want to know emotionally that they had voids in them, or even know they're personal. But I don't think we get to get away from that anymore in this world, unfortunately. Because if somebody's got a hole in a void, they will self-sabotage no matter what. It is universal law. And that I have watched play out over and over and over and over again in all aspects of any woman that I have ever tried to help and push her to her potential. If she wasn't willing to do the work to fill in her void, then she was always looking for something to fill it. Gary, you weren't taught, just like I wasn't taught necessarily, how to process emotions, deal with emotions, understand them, speak them, any of that. And it was a hard pill for me to swallow, that I sucked at it, honestly. So of course, then I had to learn it and master it. Now I have nothing that I ever have fear about talking about, but that's because I had to deconstruct any facade that I had. And trust where I was getting pulled to, even though it was against everything that I had ever been taught or believed in. Which is funny, since I got guided to do agent videos and training and stuff today. So apparently I will be getting to do that and training and teaching, because that I have missed. And I know I have a bunch of agents and stuff that they message me and do questions and stuff all the time, and I'm just going to start doing videos for them, because then I can leverage my time, but also help other people at the same time. Because agents, we attract in narcissistic clients. And I know that that is going to clean house of a bunch of agents, actually, that don't understand why that they are not connected to real estate anymore. It isn't the same, it drains them, all that stuff. And I'm meant to teach them tools too on how to protect themselves from that. That was something I had to learn too. Gotta love it, right? But it's kind of exciting to actually be able to teach and help agents again, because I love doing that. I love doing that because I don't think there's enough of actual real training. Like KW is the closest, but actually with self-worth attached to it and how to stand your ground and not be motivated by the money. My very first closing was a subdivision. My very first And it was the same amount of my yearly salary that I had left from the construction company to confirm that I was doing the right thing. But it's scary as hell, Gary. We've always been in the scary deep end, but this is a different kind of scary deep end because it's what we have always avoided. And I felt like I would almost drown in it. That's how scary it is. Almost like getting thrown in the deep end, not knowing how to swim. And I can see why I went through it first, to collect it all, document it all, get you a map so that you don't have to drown in the deep end if you don't choose to. But no matter what, I will find you if I'm meant to give you a message, because that's what I do. 110%, and don't let barriers or blockades or other people's certain processes that they are used to in their company get in my way. I always find a way, because we believe in the impossible being possible, Gary. So I don't ever let something like that stop me. But protect yourself, because those voids in the women, because you do want to change things and you do want to help, you're attracting in the ones with the biggest voids to try and help you, because you can't see it. And you're just trying to honor your heart and hurry and get to your new project. So be careful. Be very careful, because that's the part that worries me for your health. I had to learn that the hard way. Like this, rashes, this is like nothing. A year ago, it was crazy, but this was me learning my lesson of an attachment to a narcissist that started coming out through my skin. The first time I had any of this start happening, I was at family reunion in Texas a year and a half ago or whenever that was. And I had to realize that I had trigger questions. For me, when people ask certain questions, that was when my brain used to like turn on to find the solutions. So being at family reunion where everyone's thinking of growth and dreams and goals and all of the things, I had to realize that is also when my gift was coming in a massive scale. And it was like the universe was teaching me a lesson, because it had my ears like exploded pretty much. Like they swelled up so big, you couldn't even stick a finger behind it, like rashed down my neck, my ears, everything. It was my head. It was insane, Gary. And I learned that was Alicia, warning, warning, warning. That was all positive with thousands of people. Positive. That was people wanting to grow and all of that. But the amount of energy hitting my triggers, which make my brain and everything go and work, like turn on, that was a month or so before COVID. Do you know how grateful I am that my ears exploded at family reunion, and for me to learn and start seeing what my body was trying to tell me as its filtration system for me to listen? Because can you imagine the fear and the palpable fear and everything that people had with COVID? When COVID started, I could barely go to a gas station because of that, and me having to learn how to protect and this and that, blah, blah, to be able to understand what was actually happening. Because honestly, doctors had no clue. I tried. They had no clue how to help me. Everything was, you know, the anomaly and this and that, blah, blah, blah. I had to learn it was all ascension symptoms, which blew my freaking marbles. And I couldn't just take a pill to fix it. I actually had to like emotionally dig down to like clear it out, because it's roadblocks in the Jumanji world that I had to live in. It's like you couldn't go 100 miles an hour because if there's an emotional block, you've got to process and deal with the emotional block before I can get a higher perspective to be able to look down. Same reason why I could send you the videos originally and all of that, not knowing that we would be here right now, because each time I jump and do the scary, then I'm able to like see a different perspective of the bigger plan each time. So yes, you are meant for very big things, Gary. If you choose to. Way bigger than you even know now. But I know what your project is that you're working on is connected in some way, shape, or form. And I know that I'm a keeper of many secrets for a reason. I know I'm kind of like a gatekeeper to be able to protect empathic people and only allow in, because if I allow in even one narcissist, well, it's kind of like the government. They all had great intentions in the beginning, but one bad seed can corrupt all the rest. One narcissist in a group of empaths, it is a smorgasbord for them. And then they are energetically entangled with them to be able to feed off of them while they're all getting drained. And that was a hard pill to swallow. But protect yourself, Gary. That I was meant to tell you, because you're wanting to try and not have them be a puzzle piece and see them differently and all of that and help in a certain way, but you're focused on your future projects and you are attracting in because you need that to get to that. That means the energy you're putting out is a need, which means you are attracting in someone that needs you as a food source, or the things that you are trying to give them as a food source. So be careful, because in the last 3 to 6 months, one of the shifts is we're like master manifestors. But when we're going through shit, that means we are master manifestors at manifesting the crap we don't want, which means everything you are focusing on that you don't want, that keeps showing up, your thoughts are becoming things and you are attracting them in, because I know I'm a master manifester, which means them showing me that you're kind of my twin in that sense means you are manifesting exactly what you don't want and what you were trying to run from, because we're great at running in a sense when really we say it's ambition and this and a goal. Yep, nope, it's really us running from the emotions of it. Yep, I had to see that. So breathe, Gary. Find some joy and some color, because if you won't mix that in and you don't start embracing some of your extremes, because we have those in all areas, whether it doesn't matter what it is, especially when we try and do what we're supposed to do, the facade, and we hold it back for so long, that means that our extreme, when we finally let it out, it is like a freaking volcano. It can shock a lot of people in our extremes. Whether it's vacation getting out, yeah, there's some extremes. Yep. But I know eventually one day I get to share the other pieces to the puzzle and the secrets with you. But like I said, I'm kind of a gatekeeper because they can't get into the wrong hands. Which means you have to choose you, Gary. You growing into whatever you are meant to grow into. But I will find you to do my piece and my part, because we only like to do 110% and like to win and do the best that we can. I just never thought in that it would have been what I had to do for the last 1.5 years. Yep. But I'm so freaking grateful for it at the same time, because I'm not attached to any of it. I'm not scared to speak emotions or to hunt you down if I need to. So, don't be mad at Chad for the email getting to me, because the web will always find me. Always. And breathe, because there's always a way out. Remember, we don't believe in the impossible, and you're not alone in that crazy head of yours. Have a good Monday, Gary.